Picture a supply chain you can't see. No cargo ships, no container cranes, no oil pipelines, but it still moves something every nation now depends on. We're used to thinking about supply chains for food, energy, medicine, and microchips. Those are the obvious ones. But in the intelligence economy, another system quietly sits underneath all of them, deciding who adapts fast, who gets blindsided, and who has leverage. It's what we're calling the intelligence supply chain. The global system that turns raw data into insights, moves those insights across networks and borders, and then converts them into decisions and actions. And here's the twist. The countries and companies that control key links in that chain don't just get richer. They get safer. They get more influence. They get the ability to shape outcomes before others even realize a game is being played. Welcome back to the B.I channel, where data meets decisions. I'm Solon Hale. Today we're going to map the intelligence supply chain, the choke points where it can be disrupted, and the new realities it creates, like intelligence embargoes, black markets for data and models, and regional blocs building their own intelligence corridors. Joining me is our panel, Nakel, who works at the intersection of emerging markets and digital infrastructure, Maria, who specializes in data governance and cross-border data flows, Dr. Zhou, whose work focuses on real-time industrial intelligence systems and regional networks, Jonas, who studies ethics, provenance, and regulation in AI-driven decision systems, and Aiden, who builds and studies the technical backbone, cloud, models, and simulation platforms. All right, let's get into it. If someone hears intelligence supply chain and thinks it's just spies and secrecy, where do you start correcting them?
I start by widening the frame. Intelligence here isn't only about espionage. It's any structured insight that helps you predict, decide, and act. Whether you're a government managing border security, a hospital allocating resources, or a manufacturer anticipating disruptions.
Exactly. And the supply chain part is important. It suggests an end-to-end system, many hands, many tools, many jurisdictions. Data gets produced somewhere, refined somewhere else, processed, often by AI, then shipped out to decision makers. That's a supply chain, even if nothing physical is moving.
I'd add another layer, routes. Intelligence doesn't travel randomly. It moves along corridors, technical, commercial, and political. Cloud regions, submarine cables, data centers, trade agreements, corporate partnerships, these are the roads and ports of intelligence.
And unlike traditional supply chains, the product can be copied infinitely, modified invisibly, and used without the original producer ever knowing. That's why governance, provenance, and accountability matter. If you can't trace it, you can't trust it.
Also, the infrastructure is the chain. People focus on AI as if it's a single thing. But intelligence at scale requires compute, storage, networks, orchestration, model pipelines, monitoring, simulation environments, identity systems. Those layers determine what's possible and what's fragile.
So if we compress it into one sentence, the intelligence supply chain is the end-to-end flow from data generation to usable intelligence to action, moving through platforms and across borders, shaped by technical infrastructure and governance. Let's make it practical. When listeners hear supply chain, they usually imagine stages. So let's build the architecture. What are the major stages, and what can go wrong in each? Stage 1, data generation. Nakel, what counts as raw material here?
Almost everything. Sensors in factories, GPS pings from logistics, transactions in banking systems, satellite and drone imagery, weather data, social and mobility signals, health records, power grid telemetry. The raw material of intelligence is the digital exhaust of modern life.
And who owns that raw material? Because that's where power starts, right?
It's fragmented. Some is personal and should be protected. Some belongs to companies. Some gets collected by governments. Some is effectively controlled by platforms that sit between people and services. Ownership, access, and consent are political questions as much as technical ones.
And legitimacy matters. If data is extracted without meaningful consent, or produced under coercion or surveillance, then the entire chain carries that ethical debt forward. You can't wash it away downstream.
Okay, stage 2, data refinement. Maria, what happens after data is born?
Most data is messy. Different formats, incomplete fields, duplicates, errors, missing context. Refinement is where you clean it, standardize it, label it, and structure it so it can actually be used. This stage sounds boring until you realize it's where bias gets introduced or removed. It's where privacy can be protected, or violated. It's where the data becomes exportable, shareable, and valuable.
So the refinery is like taking crude oil and turning it into usable fuel.
Yes, with one more complication. Unlike oil, refinement often means adding human judgment. What to include, what to ignore, how to label, what is considered normal. Those choices shape outcomes later.
Stage 3. Intelligence processing. Dr. Zhou, this is where AI and analytics come in.
Right. Processing is the transformation step. You take refined inputs and use models, statistical or machine learning, plus analytics engines and simulation systems to create forecasts, classifications, anomaly detection, risk scores, optimization plans. In real-time systems, processing is continuous. The model isn't run once a week. It's constantly updating ports, factories, traffic systems, making micro-decisions all day.
And the quality of processing depends on two scarce things: good models and enough compute. If your models are outdated, your intelligence is wrong. If you can't afford compute or don't have access to accelerators, you can't process at the speed required.
Stage 4. Intelligence distribution. Aiden, what does shipping intelligence look like?
It's routing, getting the right insight to the right person or system at the right time. That might be dashboards for a ministry, APIs feeding an automated trading system, alerts for cybersecurity teams, or decision support in a command center. Distribution is also where control shows up. Whose cloud is it on? Whose network does it traverse? What identity and access systems gate it? And what logs exist or don't?
And stage 5. Intelligence activation. Jonas, this is the moment where an insight becomes a decision, and the decision becomes action.
Yes. This is where intelligence becomes policy, strategy, resource allocation, targeting, enforcement, pricing, hiring, and intervention. It's where a forecast changes a border posture, where an anomaly detection system triggers an investigation, where a risk score denies a loan. Activation is also where responsibility becomes unavoidable. If an AI-driven intelligence product leads to harm, you can't shrug and blame the model. Someone chose to activate it, scale it, and trust it.
So now we've got the 5 stages. Generate, refine, process, distribute, activate. That sounds neat, but supply chains aren't judged by their diagrams. They're judged by what happens under stress. Let's talk chokepoints, places where this chain can break or be controlled. If someone wanted leverage over another nation or industry, where would they apply pressure?
Start with concentration. If too much intelligence traffic runs through a handful of providers, that's a choke. Even without malicious intent, outages, policy shifts, or pricing changes can become strategic events.
You mean cloud concentration?
Exactly. If your government, banks, hospitals, and critical infrastructure depend on the same foreign-controlled cloud stack, you've created a single point of failure and a single point of influence.
Another choke point is data sovereignty conflict. Countries are increasingly saying, this data cannot leave our borders, or must be stored locally, or can only be processed under specific conditions. Sometimes that's about rights and privacy. Sometimes it's about industrial strategy. Either way, it changes the supply chain. It can slow it down, split it, or force companies into parallel systems.
A major vulnerability is model dependency. If your intelligence processing relies on models trained elsewhere, on external datasets, external assumptions, you're importing not only capability but also blind spots. And if access can be revoked, then your predictive capacity is contingent. In fast-moving environments, that's dangerous.
Simulation bottlenecks belong on this list too. High-fidelity simulation, digital twins of infrastructure, supply routes, weather interactions, military scenarios requires specialized tools and massive compute. If only a few actors can run those simulations, they can see around corners. Everyone else is reacting.
And one of the most underestimated choke points is ethical failure. If intelligence flows violate rights, lack transparency, or produce systematic harm, the result is backlash, legal restrictions, sanctions, loss of trust, social instability. Ethics isn't a moral add-on. It's operational stability.
So choke points aren't only technical. They're legal, economic, ethical, and geopolitical. Let me push this. Traditional supply chains can be blockaded. They can be embargoed. They can be smuggled around. Does the intelligence supply chain have the same dynamics?
It already does. We're entering a world of intelligence embargoes, where access to critical intelligence systems is restricted like strategic goods.
Give me an example without naming names.
Access to advanced AI capabilities can be conditioned through export controls on hardware, controls on model weights, restrictions on cloud compute, limits on certain software services. If you can't run high-end models, you can't compete in certain intelligence tasks.
And even before hardware and models, we already see it with data. Cross-border transfer restrictions effectively function like partial embargoes. If your system can't legally receive certain datasets, your intelligence pipeline degrades. There's also the corridor question. If intelligence must transit through certain hubs, cloud regions, network choke points, then geopolitical friction can degrade throughput, add latency, or introduce surveillance risk.
And when embargoes happen, markets adapt. That's where the idea of an intelligence black market comes in. Jonas.
When legitimate channels become constrained, demand doesn't disappear. It shifts. Organizations start buying unauthorized datasets, scraped personal information, leaked model weights, illicit access to compute, or gray analytic services. That creates enormous security risk because you don't know what you're plugging into. It creates ethical risk because rights are trampled. And it creates strategic risk because malicious actors can poison or manipulate the intelligence being sold.
This is the moment where intelligence starts behaving like a controlled substance. Restricted, tradable, weaponizable. If that sounds extreme, remember, the more valuable something becomes, the more people fight over its routes.
So we have an emerging world where intelligence is not only produced, it's governed, restricted, smuggled, and contested. Let's zoom out geographically. If the intelligence supply chain is real, it won't look identical everywhere. Different regions will build different architectures. Dr. Zhou, let's start with APAC. How would you describe what's happening there?
APAC has strong momentum around real-time intelligence tied to physical operations. Ports, manufacturing lines, logistics corridors, smart city systems, many are integrated into continuous sensing and response loops. The competitive advantage is speed and coordination, seeing disruptions quickly, rerouting fast, adjusting production in near real time. It's like building an always-on nervous system for trade and infrastructure.
Europe often gets framed differently. Jonas, what's the European signature?
Europe has leaned into what I'd call an ethical intelligence network. Stronger emphasis on privacy, accountability, transparency, and the right to explanation, plus emerging requirements around tracking the origin and handling of data and AI outputs. That can slow certain deployments, but it can also create trust and long-term stability. It pushes the intelligence supply chain to prove legitimacy, not just performance.
North America. Aiden.
North America, especially the US, has been the engine room for AI platforms, major cloud networks, model development, and simulation tooling. I'd call it an innovation intelligence grid, where the infrastructure for processing and distribution is a huge strategic asset. But concentration is a double-edged sword. It creates enormous capability and also raises systemic risk if too much of the world depends on a few stacks.
LATAM. Maria, what pattern do you see?
Resilience. Many intelligence systems there are built to stabilize essential services, agriculture forecasting, disaster response, logistics reliability, public service delivery, and resource allocation. I think of it as a resilience loop. Intelligence that helps absorb shocks, climate, commodity swings, infrastructure constraints, rather than optimizing for maximum speed at all costs.
And across Africa, not Kel?
A mobile-first intelligence mesh. You see leapfrogging. Solutions built around mobile networks, digital payments, distributed identity, and localized data collection. The mesh is powerful because it doesn't require legacy systems to be replaced, can grow around them, but it also creates new questions about who controls the rails, telecoms, fintech platforms, and the cloud services that connect them.
So the intelligence supply chain is global, but it's not uniform. Different regions prioritize speed, ethics, innovation scale, resilience, or mobile distribution, and those choices shape power. Let's take a step into the future. If we project forward, what changes first? What becomes normal that feels unusual today?
Intelligence routing becomes a discipline. Not just send the data to the cloud, but dynamically choosing pathways based on latency, trust, sovereignty, cost, and risk.
Provenance becomes non-negotiable. We'll demand to know where an intelligence asset came from, what data, what transformations, what model version, what constraints, what licensing, what consent. Because without provenance, you can't audit decisions, and you can't defend them politically or legally.
We'll also see intelligence treaties, agreements not just about weapons or trade, but about data flows, model governance, cross-border incident response, and shared standards for responsible intelligence use.
And intelligence corridors will formalize. Similar to trade corridors, you'll have prioritized cross-border routes for real-time industrial intelligence, especially in regions with tightly coupled supply networks.
Finally, automation. Not only AI generating insights, but AI managing the supply chain itself, monitoring data quality, detecting drift, enforcing policies, optimizing cost, scaling compute, and routing outputs. That raises the stakes. If the supply chain becomes automated, then errors propagate faster. Governance has to keep up.
So the future isn't just more AI. It's a more structured, more contested, more regulated, and more automated system for producing and moving intelligence. Now let's bring it home. If you're a national leader, a regulator, or a CEO overseeing critical infrastructure, what does resilience look like in the intelligence supply chain? If you had to give a practical roadmap, what are the pillars?
Diversify intelligence sources. Don't allow your entire decision system to depend on a single provider, a single region, or a single dataset category. Redundancy matters in intelligence systems just like it does in energy grids.
Strengthen data governance. That means clear rules on collection, consent, classification, storage, sharing, and deletion. It also means contracts with brokers and vendors that don't turn your core operations into someone else's asset.
Establish ethical standards that are operational, not symbolic. Define what should never be automated, what requires human review, what must be explainable, and how communities can contest harmful decisions. And invest in auditability, because trust is a strategic resource.
Invest in real-time infrastructure where it matters. If your critical systems operate on delayed information, you're always late. Real-time sensing and analytics improve not just efficiency, but crisis response.
Develop sovereign capability where it's necessary, especially for AI engines and simulation platforms. That doesn't always mean building everything alone. It can mean ensuring you have control, alternatives, and the ability to operate under constraint. And test your intelligent supply chain like you test disaster recovery. Run drills. What happens if a major provider goes down? If cross-border transfers are limited? If model access is revoked? If data quality collapses?
That last point is huge, because we'll figure it out during the crisis is not a strategy. It's a gamble. I want to close by reframing what we've said today in simple terms. The intelligence supply chain is the hidden system behind global power. It determines who sees disruptions first, who can coordinate responses fastest, who can simulate the future before it arrives, and who can turn knowledge into action at scale. And like any supply chain, it has bottlenecks. It has choke points. It can be embargoed. It can be fragmented by policy. It can be corrupted by black markets. And it can be made resilient if nations and organizations treat it as critical infrastructure rather than a background feature of modern life. Thanks to our panel, Nakel, Dr. Zhou, Maria, Jonas, and Aiden. And thank you for spending this hour with us on the BI channel, where data meets decisions. If this episode made you rethink what supply chain really means in 2026, share it with someone who works in policy, infrastructure, security, or enterprise tech. Because the intelligence economy isn't coming. We're already in it, and the routes are being built right now.